The year is 2035. You live in the state of California and it's mid-July. It's about 95 degrees outside. You just finished your shift at the pronoun store where you work at, and your boss is happy with you today. You sold 10 they, them pronouns to people. So you get in your electric vehicle and you drive home, and then all of a sudden you receive an alert on your iPhone 20, and it tells you that there's going to be more rotating and rolling blackouts in your area, and you're not going to be able to charge your electric vehicle anymore. So you drive home, you barely make it home because you almost ran out of juice. And then you pull in the driveway, and since you can't charge your vehicle, you just go inside, and you decide, I'm just going to take a shower and have something to eat. So you proceed to try and take a shower, and there's no running water because Lake Mead is now at a Deadpool status, and there's no flowing water going to your home. And since the electric grid's out, there's nothing you can do. So that's just one scenario that's going to play out for Californians if they keep enacting the policies that are currently going on. My name is Brian Barsoon. I upload YouTube content daily. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Hit that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. I'm going to be breaking down in this video these policies that are being implemented currently by the state of California, and that's one possibility that I believe could happen to people living in the state of California. So let's take a look here. So the first story here, this is for California to ban gas furnaces and heaters by 2030. They're the first U.S. state to do so amid a slew of progressive measures to tackle climate crisis. California is set to ban the sale of gas-powered furnaces and water heaters by 2030. And so obviously they're claiming climate change, and the measure is part of a larger plan to transition the state away from fossil fuels and to renewable power and other sources of clean energy. So beginning in 2030, 100% of sales from new space heaters and water heaters would need to comply with the emission standard, which is zero carbon. And I'll go into what that is in just a moment. So nearly 60% of the state's electricity comes from renewable and zero carbon sources, according to California Energy Commission. The state is pledged to have a clean power grid by 2045. So it's a common misconception when it comes to net zero and zero carbon. So I want to explain what that is. So net zero is, what that means is that what you're putting out, you're also reducing that as well. So for example, like planting a tree, if you do one tree's worth of carbon emission, you plant the tree, you're net zero. So that's what net zero is. But what they want is zero carbon. So zero carbon is when carbon, other heat trapping emissions are released into the air. They act like a blanket. That's explaining what carbon is. So also says coal and gas produce carbon dioxide, among other gases. And zero carbon means that no carbon emissions are being produced from a product or service. For example, a wind farm or a battery deploying electricity, which is kind of vague because, yes, the battery deploying the electricity is zero carbon, but how did you get that energy to create the battery and fill the battery up? I'll go into that in just a moment as well. So energy sources like wind, nuclear, and solar do not create carbon emissions when they are used to produce electricity. We refer to these sources as zero carbon. Everyone talks about wind and solar. No one likes to talk about nuclear. And Gavin Newsom, the governor, was forced to save a nuclear plant because of the energy grid being so bad in California this year. They don't want to talk about it. It was barely in the news, but nuclear is zero carbon, and it's something we could easily do in this country to get rid of the energy problems that we're currently facing. If you're not a fan of fossil fuels, we could do nuclear. Obviously, everyone thinks of the disasters that happened in Japan and with Chernobyl and Russia. Granted, that was decades ago, and the one in Russia, the one in Japan, a little more recently, but the ability for that stuff to produce energy and the cost-benefit analysis of that is too high for us to just overlook. But states like California just overlook that, and they don't care. But that's one problem that could fix that. So that's where you know what zero carbon is. So that's one policy that they're doing with gas furnaces and with heaters as well. That's by 2030. And the other one you probably may have heard of, and this was from about a month ago. It has to do with the ban sales of new gas-powered cars by 2035. So in California, under the measure, 35% of vehicles manufactured in 2026 and sold in the state would be required to be zero emission. So it's only 12% today. They want to triple that in the next 4 years. And then by 2035, zero of them. So in that scenario I gave at the beginning of the video, even if you wanted to, you had the money and you were capable of, purchasing another vehicle, 2035 won't be able to. Literally will be illegal to do so. So when the grid goes down, you're screwed. You got no other options. You're stuck at home. You can't even charge your vehicle. How are you going to get to work the next day? Great question. Nobody's asking it. That's why I'm asking it. So if you have an answer for that, please tell me. I'd love to know. And the green quotas will increase to 51% in 2028, 68% in 2030, and then eventually 100% in 2035. So it's going to be a natural progression. It's not just going to be all of a sudden where it just goes to 100%. They're going to slowly transition us, as a favorite word of the last 2 years, transition, and get that to 100%. So, this another policy that, it was consistent with a 2020 executive order from California Governor Gavin Newsom that aimed to put the state on a path to carbon neutrality by 2045. Now, obviously, I want there be less carbon in the air as well, but the way they're going about it is just insane. They're just doing these policies that are going to wreck the lower and middle class, and then meanwhile, rich people will just go about living their day and won't even bother them. Like Kim Kardashian says, oh, she just views climate change. She picks her battles, if I'm paraphrasing. Meanwhile, she can just fly on her plane and use jet fuel. And, we have to worry about charging our electric vehicles when there's a rolling blackout. So you can see the hypocrisy there. It's pretty evident. But the point being is that we're doing all these measures. Meanwhile, other continents and countries, particularly China and India, are not following these policies. They're just doing whatever they wanted to, pretty much what we did like 30, 40 years ago, just burning fossil fuels recklessly into the atmosphere. And meanwhile, we're the ones hamstringing ourselves with these policies. And if you think it's only going to happen in California, that's, it's a misnomer. It's going to happen in other states as well. There's already several other states, including New York, I believe Virginia, that are going to implement these policies that California is now introducing into law now. So it's going to have a bleeding effect into the rest of the country. So I just wanted to show this meme really quick because I thought it was hilarious. This happened, this was from earlier this year. There was somebody charging their electric vehicle with a diesel generator. So not very environmentally friendly, huh? But you got to get to work. You got to, you can't tell your boss, oh, sorry, the electric grid went down. They're going to go, I don't care, get to work. So, obviously you need a gas generator to charge your $120,000 electric supercar because the grid is overloaded. You got to love the irony. It is severely ironic, and it's funny, but also sad at the same time that this is what people have to deal with. So not to mention the electric vehicles are run on lithium-ion batteries. It's probably lithium-ion batteries are used in everything now. They're used in the phone or the computer that you're probably watching this video on, along with other devices as well. So until the lithium-ion batteries are improved and the capacity can increase, it's going to take forever for these vehicles to charge. And not to mention, when you charge these vehicles, you can't even go all the way to full capacity. It's almost like charging your cell phone. If you ever notice this, when it gets to like 90% really quickly, and then the last 10% of the charge takes forever. It's like 95. Then you come back like 20 minutes later, it's at like 96, 97. That's because of lithium-ion batteries. So just to have a little bit of a breakdown of what it is and what all that entails, I just wanted to go over this briefly. And this has to do with the charging stations. So these charging stations are still proven to be unreliable. And let's take a look here. So charging networks claim uptime rates of 95% and higher. However, the study found almost 23% of the chargers, and this was in a study done in California, in the greater Bay Area, so around San Francisco. So 23% of them were not even functional. So even if you wanted to charge your vehicle, in these cases, 1 out of 4, you're gonna 1 out of 4 chance that it's not even going to be working. I know when I go to a gas station, it's on. It's pretty much on all the time unless the power goes out. And if the power goes out, they have a generator that they use. So it's pretty funny. So that's that shows the unreliability of these charging stations. And just the cost in general of these vehicles is pretty outrageous too. These are all the things that you need just to own an electric vehicle. Obviously, you have to buy it, then you have to get the equipment, then you have to get a permit, and then you have to buy the charging station and put it in your home, which can usually cost around $2,000. And if you live in California, I don't even have to tell you if you live there. I don't live there, but from what everyone I tell, permits are like the worst thing in the world there. It takes forever for them to get done, and they're expensive. So you're probably looking at even higher charges than that $2,000 just to get that permit to put the electric charger in your home. So you could see the snowball effect that's happening here. And all this money, it's going to the private sector where you'll never see it again, and it's going to the government where they'll just waste your tax dollars. And that's if you're lucky enough to afford all of this and to get the electric vehicle and the charging station in your home. And just looking here, so this explains how the energy is required for that electric charging station. So let's say you bought the charging station, you install it in your home, and you're wondering where the energy comes from in order to charge your vehicle. It's pretty interesting. So your house is connected to the grid, just like everyone else. And America's power supply is divvied up. So, and in the whole country, 40% of that power is natural gas. About 20% of that is coal. So over half is with quote unquote dirty fossil fuels. So if you're trying to get to net zero, you're doing it the wrong way. This is not how you do it. There's other ways to do it. First of all, you could just capture the carbon out of the air, and we could continue to do the same things we're doing now and then just catch the carbon and then reuse it. If you're not familiar, there's something called graphene. It's a derivative of graphite, which is in your lead pencil you're probably familiar with, or if you're a golfer, it's in the shaft of your driver. And it's a pretty popular product. It was discovered about 20 years ago. I would recommend looking up Ian Crossland from Timcast IRL. He's a big proponent of graphene, and just type up Ian Crossland graphene, and you'll probably find a video of him explaining it. Probably won't do the best job of explaining it, but it's a derivative of graphene, or of graphite, graphene is. And it's a hexagonally flat. It's in a lattice, like honeycomb shape, and it can be used in several different methods. It's stronger than steel, so it could be used in construction in the future. It can be used in the science and technology sector. Those lithium-ion batteries I mentioned earlier, they can be used in that respect to increase the capacity of the batteries in electric vehicles, and also it can be used in water filtration. So it has several different abilities, so to speak, and it's something that needs to be looked into moving forward, but no one talks about it except for Ian Crossland. So, I just wanted to mention that as well. So, if that would be something we could do instead of what we're doing now with renewables like wind, solar, and it can also generate energy as well, graphene. So, but enough about that for now. But just wanted to mention that. So that's something that can help in the future. But back to my story of like the hellscape scenario that I mentioned in the beginning. This just wanted to show this as well. If you haven't been paying attention to the housing market in 2022 here, it's taking a pretty big hit over the last several months here. And let's take a look. Let me see if I can refresh this here. And these are just some of the dropping prices, and this is in August of 2022. If you see a nice little cluster over here, 4 out of the top 10 are in the state of California. So people are leaving the state and prices are dropping. So it's obviously going to create a whole series of problems for the state. As values drop and people leave the state, there's going to be less people to have the burden for tax purposes. So obviously, if you have less people in your state, you can't, there's not enough tax revenue to go around. So all these policies that they're trying to implement, there's not going to be enough people to go around and pay for these policies at this current rate. So, and it shows at 6 out of the top 20 are in California already. And just going forward here, this is another breakdown where it breaks down. If you're more of a chart person, you can see all the different percentages of median price, charge and price per square foot, and inventory, number of price decreases, and all, et cetera, et cetera. So you can take a look at that as well. So a lot of interesting things going on in California. I don't know what their end goal is. Obviously they want to be zero carbon or a net zero or whatever by 2045. But the way they're going about it is literally going to destroy their own state. And at this rate, it might be like Mad Max, like Thunderdome at this point, by the time 2035 rolls around. Because between the ideologies and the policies and the economy of California, I don't see it lasting any longer on this current trajectory. So that's going to do it, though, for this video. Just breaking everything down there. Like, share, and subscribe again if you enjoyed the content. Share it with your friends. And again, my name is Brian Barsoon. I'll link all my socials down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and take care.